Hello and welcome back to the Bright Founders Talk podcast from Temi. Temi is an international software development company that designs, builds, and delivers software for sustainable businesses and promising startups. My name is Chris, and today's guest is someone who has a wealth of experience in marketing, entrepreneurship, and, of course, starting their own businesses. Matthias, Heicke. I think Heicke, I got a bit nervous there.
Yeah. Promise you will get it wrong. It's Matthias Heicke.
Matthias Heicke. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm very good, thank you.
Perfect. As always, got some quick fire questions, so just get started with those. What's your favorite productivity hack while working from home?
I think my favorite productivity hack is not having Gustav around. So he's my guest dog for now, and if he's here, I'm always very unproductive. No, jokes aside, I think it's this classical focus on one task at a time. So really make yourself a list of maximum 5 things you want to finish that day and really focus on that single task and go with it.
Okay, just being very methodical, just doing one thing at a time.
Exactly. If you have a lot of meetings or a lot of stuff, try to put this in a time slot and have yourself really free time. Put off Slack, switch off mail notifications. Everything's focus on one thing at a time.
What is something new you would like to learn outside of work?
I always wanted to learn more languages. I took Latin in school, which was probably not the best idea if you don't want to become a doctor or a pastor. So I always wanted to learn new languages. And since I'm also a developer, programming languages and human languages are always fascinating to me.
Okay, brilliant. And what did you want to be growing up?
My mom recently reminded me that I told my grandfather that I want to be a boss when I grow up. So I founding a company, I think, is a baby step towards that wish I had when I was a little boy. Also the classics astronaut and detective.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, detective is an interesting one. But in general, just want to be in power, be rich and be in power.
I don't think that it's so much the being rich, and I mean probably being rich and buying all the toys as a little kid, but I don't know. I think it was always this being independent, being able to do whatever is up in your mind was interesting.
Well, one thing I thought was really interesting that I saw on LinkedIn was that you said, my mission is to create. So just wanted to start off with that and kind of ask you, have you always been creative? Was that something that you've noticed you've always wanted to build something, whether that, going back was that Lego, etc. And then, further on, did you, create stuff with your friends later on, as a teenager, and then that became companies?
Looked on my life and I thought, what drives me? What is my reasoning for life? What is my hook for life, my passion? And I looked at all the different steps in my life, and that was the one singularity going through that I like to create stuff. And it could be when I was a little kid, I loved Lego. That's a good example. But I also loved to I was living in a very small village, so I often went to the forest and we built little huts or dams in the river or whatever stuff. And later on, I organized birthday parties. We organized events when I was younger. So that was sort of creating events, creating new friends. I was doing a lot of church work, organizing youth events. And again, there, the interesting part for me was always creating a new happening, a new kind of level. It was never just going with the status quo in a way. But it's also, I don't know, I built a table, I built it's always coming back to creating things. And I think creating software, creating a company, creating connection, it's always this creative creation part.
Do you ever find it, do you ever have creator's block? And I just wondered, or what do you do to put yourself in a creative space?
Good question. Creator's block, definitely. So whenever I have this, there's so many tasks in my life that I just put the thing aside, take something else, and the next morning I will take this back, and it will miraculously I get an idea. But to put myself in the right mood, I'm lucky in a way, as I said before, I have so much work that I rarely have to finish something on time. So I'm more able whenever I have the feeling that some creativity sparks me. For example, like after a long run, after a hot shower, that kind of stuff, that I'm able to then use this. And in times where I'm blocked, I do like all of this notoriously founders work, which is not so much fun, like doing papers and that kind of stuff, which don't need creativity.
Do you still find, because I think, well, for me on a micro scale, a lot of my creativity gets hindered by admin and that kind of stuff, like emails or
Yeah.
I don't know, taxes and stuff. So,
Yeah.
that's I'm just on a very small scale. So imagine for you, do you have someone to kind of, or do you make the point of having someone to take care of all that stuff so you can continue to be creative or not?
I, I I always try to. So I'm not doing the books anymore. I'm not doing the text anymore. Also before this, my co-founder Sven was actually doing that kind of stuff. So I was very lucky having someone really right there. Now we have people for this. Definitely, if I figure out that something doesn't spark me, I always try to find people who are better at that job than I am. But this said, as a founder, you will always come up with stuff which is not 100% your cup of tea, but which still needs to be done. And there's not yet somebody else there. So yeah, I think you never run out of tasks which you're not 100% happy with.
When you started studying, going back to your studies, did you know what you wanted to do? Because you studied information technology, right? Or to be an
Yeah, yeah.
engineer?
Yeah, in computer science, software engineering. I think I early on knew that I wanted to do something with computers. So my father was a software developer, and it always interested me. Going to university came more like I don't really know what to do else, and that fascinated me. I did not know what it really meant to be a software developer afterwards. I mean, I was already very sure that I don't want to be like a hardware engineer building processors or something like this. I knew that I wanted to build software, and I knew I wanted to build software which people can use. So it was more always this front-endy UX drive, but I couldn't imagine working when I started university. So yes and no.
So you went, because you studied for a while, right? And you even did a
Yes.
master's. So,
Yeah.
so I'm just curious because it kind of goes against the grain a little bit, because normally founders of companies are very rebellious, or let's say they quit, if Steve Jobs and so on. So I just wondered if from your side, did you feel it was more important to gain a lot of knowledge and then jump into the world of business?
I recently had one task where I could use one piece of something I learned in university, and I was very happy. So
Only just now.
no, that time, like, by the way, you did your homework very well, pointing that out. Nobody did this before, so congratulations to you looking through my LinkedIn. I'm pretty amazed. So you figured out. So I did my bachelor. I did on time basically, but at that time I already like coded for myself and built like a little platform. So I didn't do it as a business. That was more for hobby. I then sold that stuff. So that was already like a little bit entrepreneurial, but that was more for fun. It was in Paderborn. That was more like the party time, making friends, figuring out life time. Then I moved to Berlin, and here I got swept away by the whole startup scene. So I think it took me half a year until I ended up in my first startup, where I was just like a developer. So I learned from people how to run business. And then after like, I think 7 years, I realized, damn, I've got to finish my master. And yeah, I wrote my master thesis then. But in the meantime, I mean, I think we founded our first company in 2012, and yeah, so it was
Um,
always like doing stuff besides university.
it does seem that you have, as we say in English, a lot of many fingers in many pies, and I don't know how you manage your time, because it seems like you're freelancing but starting a company but also working for a company. And
I don't know. So first of all, I founded the company with a couple of friends. So it was never me alone having my own company, but it was like other people driving that part. Then it was oftentimes, hey, we're running out of money. We don't have the money to fund us all. So it was somebody has to, make some money on the side. But I've also found it very healthy for my own company to snug to different other companies, startups, concepts, to just learn and bring stuff over to our company. I don't know. I can remember back in the days going to another company and learning about Scrum for the first time. And then we were like implementing hardcore Scrum, being two developers. And then we figured out we don't need it, but at least, we learned about it and we took pieces of that. So I think it was not so much being forced and being under pressure, but it was more like looking around and looking on other people's work.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to look at it. You kind of just more obtaining knowledge and then using that to your benefit.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise you sit together, 3-4 people in a room, and you do your stuff for 1 year, and you do it for second year and the third year, and you don't get so much out. So like if you are in a well-running company, so nowadays we get like new employees, so they bring a lot of knowledge in, and it's very important to listen to those new employees. And they say, hey, could we try this differently? And you say, yes, let's try this differently. But at that time, you don't get this input from the outside, and you need to get it for yourself.
Well, talking about obtaining knowledge, your first couple of jobs, you were a software engineer, or in German, software Twickler, right? Is that software engineer?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
I thought it was maybe a new position.
You did well. Software Entwickler is, yeah.
So I'm just curious, in those positions, how did you get on? What was it like? Did you find it the transfer from studies to these jobs difficult, or was it very smooth, or what did you learn?
To me, it came very naturally because as I mentioned before, I did already develop stuff at home for myself, and I not only build like little stuff, but I wrote complete. I don't know. I think one project was a booking software for vacation kind of things, and I also did not start at I don't know, Allianz insurance company, or at a bank. So it was like I started at a young startup where nobody knew what they were actually doing. And so it was like, for me at that point, it was very smooth transitioning. I did the stuff before at home for myself, and then I did it for other people, and I was getting paid for it, which was really nice.
Yeah, actually, the other thing I wanted to ask you was that during your studies and these early jobs you had, is there anything you picked up, any skill that you learned that you still use today in your job?
Many. One which jumps to my head is if someone says a sentence with, in German, the word eigentlich, which is probably, then to ask deeper.
So they're not sure. Basically, you learned the people that...
Not sure. If somebody I don't know, if a developer says yeah, that will probably work, he doesn't know.
Probably work.
If I don't know, if a marketing people says this will probably create revenue, he doesn't know. So it's then to sit down and dig deeper and ask more questions.
That's very interesting. All right. Well, just moving ahead a little bit, you the first company you founded was called Clubmotion.
Yes.
Could you tell me a little bit about that? What was that? Because I couldn't really find too much information about it.
There is not much information. It was one of those brilliant first-time founders ideas where we thought hey, there are so many clubs in Berlin and they're really not very professional. We could build an app for managing the whole guest list process and advertisement, and people could have a check-in app and they could check in and they would get the clubs would get information about the guests, and they could send out notifications hey, we have 50% off the entry for the next hour if they have too little. So the theory behind it was brilliant. I'm not sure if we made €1 single with that idea, because what we forgot was that they are unprofessional. And it was really really hard to do business with club owners. Really nice people, lots of very funny and good stories. But yeah, if you told them like, okay, now you have to pay for it. I can remember one time we told the person like they did only meetings on parties and events and we told him, so now you use our software and we would like to get paid. And he just grabbed into the register and took out some money and gave it us. And we were like, like tax. And that was the moment we realized, okay, it's running differently than we would run a business, and it doesn't connect.
It's really interesting because, I think from an outsider's point of view, like Berlin is kind of seen as the club capital of the world, or one of them at least. So I thought it would be more formalized. Obviously, I know there are spontaneous aspects to clubbing, but I thought, if it's the top, then there would be there's a lot of money there, right? So
yeah, I think it's three different categories of clubs. It's those clubs which are like amazing, like the Berghain or the Katablau or Katablau, which we used before. They don't need such a solution. Then there are those clubs which are run by people who have done, like they have some friends, they have made one event in a club, people were coming, so they were like, okay, this is cool, I do this again. They don't really get business. Like they are just living from day to day and they wouldn't use a tool like this. And then there are like those few clubs who are really like kind of a machine which is producing money, and they were the few ones which were interested. But frankly, we were not passionate enough for those. I don't like that kind of club. So the whole benefit for us was also not there.
Fair enough. Well, the next one you went on to create after that was called, well, I wasn't sure if it was Mate or Mate. Which one was it?
You're free to call it whatever you want as long as you're paying us. No, I think we started with Mate, but it was definitely like also inspired by this drink Clubmotion, which is very famous in Berlin. It's ridiculous drink, but
that's why, because I wasn't sure whether it was like a play on the British word friend, like mate, because it's about events, or it's about the drink.
Yeah. No. It's definitely on both. So it's definitely kind of your mate for events. So our domain was also like mate for events. So it was kind of a word play. So it's also not only on mate but also on made. So yeah.
So this was
one word.
This was an evolution on Clubmotion. It seems in a way.
Exactly, it does. We figured out after a time that more and more serious or normal businesses asked us, hey, you have this guest list app, can we also use it for our regular event, like for our motor show or that kind of stuff? And they were actually paying, and they were nice people, and it was fun to work with them. And so we pivoted around, I think it was 2014, 2015, towards this more regular guest management invitation process. We started with this guest list tool. We ripped out everything regarding clubs and their needs. And we had very much luck that we had the Chamber of Commerce Berlin contacting us about the tool, and they were kind of our first big client. Figured out with them that there is a need for getting guests on the event. So having a guest list tool is fine, but that's not fun, right? Creating the new step, creating something new, creating something bigger. But the whole getting this list together aspect of the event, we figured out that this takes a lot of effort, like up to 8 hours for every single event, and they have 300, 400 events per year. Sorry, this was like the stretch part. We started to build this whole guest invitation process around it, and that was the birth of Mate.
So this time, what went wrong that you had to overcome with Mate?
That's a very good question. Not so much. I mean, a lot, and not so much at all that I could pick out a single thing. I think with Mate, we had the first time that we needed to start to build a real company. I mean, before it was like 3 or 4 dudes sitting in an office doing we did not know what we were doing. Then we started to grow, making money, getting our own office, hiring people. And that was all stuff we have never done before. So we did so many mistakes on the road. I mean, we hired perfect people who were just not a fit for their job or our company. So we had to this apart, go separate ways again.
Mm.
Yeah, it's one of the hardest things to do. We tried so many, like put so much energy into things which with our nowadays knowledge knew what just like we should have just like picked one, but we took like weeks and months discussing which one was the best option. So I think one thing I learned from there, if I would ever found a new company, or if I could go back and found the company again, I would definitely like get a second or third time founder in for consulting us in a way like, stop discussing about this, or hey, that's something you really should like look into and really should take care about. We got two like really good business angels. One is now our CFO, and I'm very happy about this. Like, it's really cool that he joined from being an investor to like being part of the company. That was very helpful.
Well, there's something now that you are, now if we move on to Sweep, I mean, this is the third company now, so you are in that expert bubble. And I was just wondering, just before you tell me a little bit about Sweep, well, how did you choose the co-founders? What did you look for? Was it different or the same?
Okay, I tell you a secret now. It's an evolution on Mate. So
Okay.
if you look into it, it's still underneath the Mate development company. It's an evolution on the product more than on the company. I think we figured out that with Mate we learned so many lessons. We completely not completely changed the team, but the team changed over time to something which is now really working smoothly, and also we started to reevaluate the value proposition of our software, and it just felt like a new product after I think 4 years, and yeah, it just didn't felt like Mate anymore. And so we said like, okay, let's do also the cut here. This is now not Mate anymore. That was like fun for years. We made our buck, but this is now Sweep. This is the next step, and this is how Sweep came into being.
I also saw that, maybe talking about the evolution, that it says on the website, on Sweep's website, you're able to personalize a plan or a brand within 10 minutes. So I'm just curious, are you in the camp where you're using AI to advance your company rather than being fearful that it would take all our jobs and be the end of the world?
No. I mean, we talked about the busy work before, like when you're founding your own company and there are like so many tasks, but you're like, oh, today, please, I want to be creative and I think that's our value proposition. That was a slogan on our last website, doing events without the busy work. And I think that's a very good description of Sweep. So I told you that we figured out with the IHK Berlin, Berlin, that they took about like 8 hours of work. We got this down to 2 hours, and I would say it's now even quicker, like the whole process, not just like the setup of the thing, but the whole process. And I think that's one of our core strengths, to reduce the amount of time we need for stuff. Talking about AI, that's like a perfect tool, especially generative AI for content creation. And a large part of your whole event building is content creation. So depending on who you are and what kind of events you have, you need different types of content creation and AI, I would say. But that's definitely like going to be a part. So right now we have implemented in our text editors like this classical, like make this text shorter, or make it please in a different tone, like in the text. But like the next step is probably going to be, hey, my event is then, this is my topic, this is my 2 highlights. Please use like a funny or sporty kind of tone, and then you get like create like all the text for emails and websites and all that stuff very quickly.
Just Sweep, have you evolved into other areas of, the event creation? Are you, I don't know, involved in recording the event and so on, or?
I mean, we have our virtual platform, but through Corona, we decided to not like to let this to other people who are doing like where it's their core product to build like, I don't know, like Hopin or other companies, because we were kind of sure that Corona would also go. And yeah, if you look at what happened to Hopin, I think we were not so wrong. I mean, the founders still made a lot of money, so. But as a company, we knew that this was like going to be a thing, which will stay. So we built this virtual component, but we did not dive too deep into this. I mean, we had our ideas and prototypes, but we decided to stick to our core. Can you say core competence? Does this work in English?
Core competence? Yeah. The core factors or core aspects?
Yeah, core aspects, yeah.
What is the near future for the company? What do you see happening?
I think so. The near future is definitely, we just introduced paid events. So before this, we were more like Chamber of Commerce. They have like 400 free events where they're just inviting people. Bentley is doing like free events. Banks are doing free events. So we were more focusing on those and not so much on the, like, I sell you like a ticket for €5 to this event. We implemented this as an adoption to our system because it fits in very, very neatly. We're now working on grouping events, so having the aspect of event series or even stuff like seminars where you know like people, you need to track if people come to every single event. So it's going to this direction, but that's not so much, I guess, the inspiring part. This is more like the hardcore. I think one really interesting aspect of events is the marketing aspect, as we said before. So for email campaigns, for websites, there's so much measuring and there's so much measuring return of invest happening and ongoing. I have not found this for events yet. So if we would be able to give our clients more insights of the return of invest for their events, that would be some fantastic ability, I would say. And so we're currently looking a little bit into this direction. As I also mentioned, like definitely generative AI is in Germany is saying a common supply that came to stay. So that will be like a factor for the next months and years. Yeah, but this whole marketing aspect, I think, is pretty interesting.
All right, brilliant. Well, I'll let you go and get back to expanding your empire. And thank you for your time and wish you all the best with Sweep. Thanks, Matthias.
Thank you very much, Chris. And was pretty nice talking to you. And have a nice holiday season.
You too, yeah. Merry Christmas.
Okay. Merry Christmas. Bye.